And on a spiritual level, I've done a lot of deep inner work, and I realized that I am so worthy. I am so worthy of being a mom and experiencing that unconditional love. And I think that sometimes when we want something so badly and we're not getting it in our life, there is some sort of deeper rooted belief that needs to be brought to the surface. And of course I know that I'm worthy, but there was some deeper healing that needed to happen around that, and it did. Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Badass manifestors, here we go. A solo week. I cannot wait to fill you in. There's so many things. This episode is more of a life update. Some of you know I've been on quite the journey. I was actually away for a few weeks traveling. I was in the Poconos and I was in New York for away for 15 days, it's a long time when you're someone who does not leave their house that much. So there's a lot to update you on, and this episode is really going to be sharing a little bit more into our fertility journey and what has transpired over the last few months. I've kind of been keeping things to myself, and I've gotten to a place where I feel really empowered in sharing and want to help other women on this journey, want to help other women release some of the shame around the guilt, whether it's infertility or miscarriages or anything with your body, anything that you could have shame or guilt around. I hope that you can use my journey and my story as a metaphor for your life in any way that it fits. Because we all have different stories. We all have different things that happen to us, similar things that happen to us that we go through and grow through. And this is just one of those things that is very, very common. So many people are on this similar path, similar journey, and I want to be able to speak to mine to help others. And so I'm kind of going to go back a little bit and share about what our journey has been like and some of the lessons I've learned and where we're at today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. So glad you're here. So let's take it back to the summertime. In the summer, we were in a place where we were just trying naturally. We had done about 6 IUIs, which are intrautero inseminations, which is nothing compared to IVF. Basically, you're a catheter delivers the sperm where the egg is in your body, and hopefully it fertilizes on its own and then turns into a baby, right? So anywho, none of that worked, and I needed to just take a break. And so we just went back to trying naturally, and we basically decided that we would give it the summer and see what happened. And by the end of the summer, we still weren't pregnant. And I was driving and I kept getting this notification because I take one medication, and I take levothyroxine, which is a little thyroid hormone. And I kept getting a notification that the pharmacy couldn't refill my prescription. So I had to call my first fertility clinic that ever put me on that. And I wasn't going to that clinic anymore. So when I actually called a different clinic that I was going to prior. And I realized I called the wrong number to refill that medication, but instead they answered and they were like, hello. And I asked to be transferred to the IVF nurse department and basically just started the testing for it in August and into September. And then we started late September, right after we had COVID, actually, which is a whole nother thing. But so we started, and it just was like divinely guided for me to start then. And I didn't feel resistance around it. I was so against it for so long. Like, I'm not doing IVF. I'm not going down that path. It was like a hard no. And after doing a lot of work around it, I realized that, like, to me, it meant failure of like, if I do this, then I will be a failure because I can't do it on my own. And that in and of itself is a metaphor, right? Because that was a massive lesson for me to not associate failure with like actually getting support, because there's things that in our life that we need support around. That's why people have coaches, because they need support around something. That's why we have therapists, because we need support around something. That's why there's fertility clinics, so you can get the support you need. There's things in life and resources in life that are there to support you. And I know that it is such a privilege for me to be able to even do IVF, right? I know that I have a privilege here. And I know that not everybody has the resources to be able to use this modality of getting pregnant, right? And so I had to take all of that into consideration and decide, like, okay, let's try this. Let's give this a shot. And I think most people think like, oh, IVF is a given, like you're going to get pregnant, like this is the way. And before we decided to do this, I've had family members say to us, why don't you just do that? Like, that's the way to get pregnant. But the reality is that it's not guaranteed. And it's extremely, I don't want to say the word expensive, but it's a premium thing, right? But of course, like when you have your baby, that's not going to matter. So anywho, we went for it, went for all the tests, did all the things, started the process. And the first time around, we were going to a clinic by my house because it was convenient. Because when you're doing this, you are going to a clinic every day, if not every other day, every day, depending on, how they're monitoring you. Because basically what happens is once a month, a woman makes an egg, a follicle, right? And that follicle gets mature, and that follicle makes you ovulate, and then that follicle either can turn into a baby if it's fertilized by sperm, or it's going to be your period. So what IVF does is, like, there are other follicles that are ready to be, they're on the sidelines basically of that one follicle, like that main character follicle. And so what IVF does is that it matures all of the follicles with the medication. So instead of having one egg, it matures as many eggs as possible that are already in your body. So, like, for example, I think I had like 6 and 8, like 6 on one side, 8 on the other. And so it's maturing all these follicles, and they ended up taking, so you take the medication for like 10 days, and it's maturing the follicles, and then it leads you to an egg retrieval. So for the egg retrieval the first time, and through this process the first time, I just didn't love the process. I didn't love the doctors. I didn't feel very supported by the doctors. I kind of felt like a number. There were a few nurses that were amazing. I want to give them credit. But really, I felt like nobody really cared about me. And I was just like another one. And it was like we paid, and we paid the money for the procedure. Like, we paid the money for the IVF. And then in the same breath, we went into the room and had an ultrasound. And I had a couple questions. And the doctor kind of just rushed me out. And it just did not feel good. And I did not really advocate for myself because I never done this before. I'd never gone through this before. I didn't know really what questions to ask, even though I had some friends helping me figure out like what questions to ask. I really just didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So how can you know how to advocate for yourself when you don't even know really what this whole process is like? So anywho, what's interesting to me too is, like, as I describe the egg thing, there will be people listening to this right now that had no idea that a woman made one follicle a month and then that turned into an egg or a period. Like, it's just unbelievable how much I have learned about my body. Like, I didn't even know, everything that the body does. Like, it is so in depth, and it's just insane, like, how much we don't know about our bodies. But anywho, that's just a side note. So that was like my experience. And with this clinic, I will say that like they didn't call me back at certain times that were pivotal. I had to call the emergency line multiple times, and it took them hours to respond. And it was just like not a good customer experience. And, I run a business, and customer experience is super important to me. So it's like, I gave them feedback afterwards, and I would have given them the same feedback whether I was pregnant or not, because they should know, like, this is how I felt through this process. And it's time consuming, it's financially consuming, it's emotionally consuming, it's mentally, like, it's physically taxing, like, it's literally every single thing. So that was that. And so anywho, with that egg retrieval, like, you take the medication until your follicles all grow, and they want them to grow kind of like, they want them to grow similar to each other. They want them to grow in similar size to each other, so that when they retrieve them, that they're all like, a good size. So anywho, they retrieved them the first time, and they took out 16 follicles. And out of the 16, 12 were mature. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I was like, that's amazing. And like, that is a pretty good number. And out of the 12, 7 had fertilized. And then after, like, when they take your eggs out, they fertilize them right away. So they're literally taking the sperm and they're injecting it into the egg. And it's creating fertilization. Well, it's to promote fertilization. And so that's a process called ICSI, where they actually like fertilize it, like take the sperm and inject it into the egg. There's other processes where the egg is just there and then the sperm fertilizes it on its own. But it's risky because you want to make sure that it gets fertilized. And so injecting it is like a more, I don't want to say like sure way, because I'm not too sure on that. I'm hoping to have my doctor come on and do a podcast episode with me, so that could be happening, my new doctor. So once they fertilized, they told me like 7 out of the 12 fertilized. And then so after they're fertilized, you wait 6 days. And when you wait 6 days, it's a long time. It's just like, it's a waiting process, right? You have to have a lot of patience for this. And by day 6, they want to see like blastocysts. They want to see this like beginning stages of an embryo. And so it's really important to like, have the blastocyst be a certain size, a certain cell count. Like, they're looking at it from a lot of different angles. And so by day 5, this last round, like not like at that first clinic, first try, they told me that there was only one that looked viable, that looked like it could be good for testing. So that was really hard because I thought we had 7, and then we had 1. And I was devastated because I thought we had more. And they sent it out for testing. So like once you get to that blastocyst stage, you send it out for PTGA genetic testing, where they can literally count the chromosomes and make sure that it's a viable, good embryo, which prevents miscarriages when you get these tested, and making sure like they're good to go, instead of just transferring one into your uterus that you have no idea if like it's normal or not. So we waited the 7 to 10 days, and I just in my heart knew that it wasn't going to come back good. And that was really hard because I never considered that we wouldn't make a healthy embryo like from the jump. Like, I wasn't prepared for that. Well, I didn't consider that. So when we got that news, it was really, really hard to swallow that, of like, oh, like, man, It just feels like you go through the process for nothing. And it feels like such a failure. And one of the lessons that came out of that for me was like, I was so afraid to fail through this process anyway that I thought that it would be a failure like once it was transferred into me, and I didn't want that to happen, and so it ended up like being a failure before we even got to that stage. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just it was a tough time because you're like, okay, I just spent so much money and we have nothing. And guess what? And I like made a joke to the nurse and I was like, so like, do you give like half price for like the second round? And she did not like that. She was just like, no, we don't do that. I was just joking, but also like, wow, okay, $15,000 it was 18, and then we were getting 3 back because we didn't end up going through with the transfer, which is 3,000. So you're just like, what the heck is happening? And I didn't really know what to do at that point. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know if I should continue with that clinic again. Actually, I knew I wasn't going to continue with them because I just had such a bad, low quality experience that I didn't want to put myself through that. And they had no more answers for me. Like their protocol. So I was under the impression that all fertility clinics are basically the same. They're not. I was under the impression that, you know, medication dosages like don't matter that much. And like they had me on pretty high doses of one of the medications. And now I know that it's actually better if you do the opposite, if you go like lower dosage. But again, I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't know what questions to ask. So I was talking to one of my friends, a soul sister, and she had been like such a cheerleader through this whole process. When I decided to do IVF, I had a call with her and she talked me through the entire thing. And because most people have no idea what IVF is and how it works and what each step is. And I had no idea. Even though I was in fertility treatments, I still was like not really sure what it all entailed. So with that, she was telling me that, you know, she wishes that I could go to her clinic, which was called Spring Fertility, and they got her pregnant. She did IVF. She got pregnant on the first try, which is amazing. And she just had such an amazing experience and she loved her doctors. And that's one of the things she asked me in the beginning was like, do you love your doctor? And I was like, no, but like, does it matter? And it does matter for me. It definitely does. I need to be connected to the doctor who is like doing this with me. And she was like, I mean, yeah, like you should, you know, you should feel good with your doctor. I'm like, okay, well, sure. But she was like raving about her doctor. And she told me that Spring Fertility had opened up a clinic in New York City and they were doing this thing, which was a free cycle review where they were looking at women's cycles who had failed at past IVF cycles and reviewing them to see if they could do it better, if they could have a different approach. And that's really what I was praying for at that point was like, I want to find a doctor who can partner with me and help me and explain things to me and advocate for me and actually fucking cares, to be honest. And I had a consultation with like a totally different clinic, a different doctor. And I told him that on the phone. That was like the first thing I said off the jump is like, listen, I've been down this road. Like, I feel like I know the lay of the land now. And I'm really looking for someone who's just going to think outside the box with me. And he was like, whoa, like, okay, I like where your head's at. And I feel like most people are not advocating for themselves in this way. And I think one thing is this, we're undereducated. We don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know what to ask. We don't know what to say. We have, I don't want to say too much trust. Like, that's not the right word, but it's just like we give up our power. I gave up my power thinking like I'm in really good hands when when I could have been in better hands had I known questions to ask and things to say and advocated for myself a little bit more. I just didn't know how to advocate for myself. So when I came into this like new consultation with this totally other clinic, the doctor was like, "Whoa, like yeah, like he was listening in a different way." Not to mention this other doctor at this other clinic was 30 minutes late for our consultation call. 30 minutes late. Like he is like so important and I am like the sorry people, right? Like I have a business to run. I have appointments all day long. And that was like my first red flag. And I was like, when he finally showed up, I basically was like, I didn't think you were coming. He's like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm late. He's like, yeah, it's just different. Like when there's people in the waiting room, you know, I feel like it's like I have to be there, but like on Zoom, it's like different. I was like, okay. That right then and there told me I'm not working with this person because like you don't respect my time. And listen, everybody is important and everybody has the same amount of time in the day. And like to me, that's just like, no. So anyway, that consultation, it was a totally side consultation because I didn't know where to turn. So I was just trying to like figure things out. And anywho, needless to say, I didn't go down that road. But my friend was like, please submit yourself for this free cycle review at Spring Fertility. And just to be clear, what I just said, that was not Spring Fertility at all. That was a totally different clinic. So I submitted myself for this free cycle review. And we went in and we sat with this doctor for 2 freaking hours. It was amazing. He did an ultrasound and blood work and we talked and he looked at my records and he was just like, listen, like this is what I would do for your protocol. And it was different, very, very different than my first protocol. The medication was like cut in half basically. And he explained to me that a lot of fertility clinics, they think like the more medication, the more eggs you're going to get, but it's not necessarily true. And it could hurt your egg quality and it could hyperstimulate you, which you don't want to do because that could cause a lot of issues. So I was immediately like, wow. And this office was insane. It was beautiful. It didn't feel like a doctor's office. It felt very luxurious. It felt like the Ferrari of fertility. Like it felt so good. And so he was like, okay, well, you know, I have to talk to the other doctors and we'll let you know. And I got a call later that night that we won. We won a free IVF cycle. Unbelievable. Literally crazy. And not only that, but like with a doctor that wants to do it better. You know what I mean? Like there's ego in there because he's doing it for free and he wants to do it better than my first clinic. And like he's in it with me, like fully, like really, really, really committed. And this was the doctor that got my friend pregnant. And I couldn't be more grateful. I couldn't, like who wins an IVF cycle? That's absolutely unheard of. Unheard of. That's unheard of. Like I can't even... It's such a huge blessing. And so when this all happened, I just felt like so supported. Like, holy shit, the universe and God and the angels are like, wow, our guides are so wanting this to happen for us. And for whatever reason, like I was questioning, like, why couldn't it just happen the first time? You know what I mean? Like if it's going to happen this way, like why couldn't it have happened the first time? But again, like there's just so many valuable lessons along the way. And it's just so important to like trust in your process as much as you can. So yeah, so that happened and we started pretty quickly after that. And I got to go to New York for 10 days and like be with my best friends. They all live in the city. And everyone took part in like the shots and giving me my shots and preparing us for, you know, the egg retrieval. And the whole experience was just so different. It was just a completely different experience. I felt like I was treated like gold and like I mattered. And, you know, when you're going through something like this, that's really important. Like that goes so far. And so, like, I just want to remind you, like, maybe you're in a service industry or you are working in the medical industry, and I get it. Like, when you are around people all day, every day, coming in and out, like in herds of people, it's sometimes hard to separate, like, okay, this is your everyday job, and put yourself in the shoes of the people that are going through the process and procedures that you're helping them with. And, like, kindness just goes so far. It goes so far. And so, Spring Fertility, if you're in New York or in the tri-state, like, I highly, highly recommend going there if you need fertility support. Like, I cannot say enough about them. But one of the other things I noticed is, like, all of their equipment, their lab is, like, top. So that's another thing that I learned, is that the lab matters for IVF. So the better the technology that the clinic has, that's a question that you need to ask. Like, what is your lab like? Can I see it? Like, ask to see it. Ask to learn about it, and really get curious, because if their stuff isn't up to date, like, the results are going to be different. I can guarantee you, if I did my first treatment at Spring versus where I went before, I 100% believe that we would have had a better result for so many reasons. The medication dosage would have been different. The lab would have been different. The environment, like, the way that they do things is just totally different. It doesn't matter. It was meant to happen this way, but I'm just saying, like, I just know that matters so much more than I had no idea, like, the first time. So with that, I would say the next step was the egg retrieval. And the egg retrieval went really well. When they were putting my IV in, oh my God, they, like, put you under twilight anesthesia. And when they put my IV in, I asked Todd to hold my hand, and he fainted. And that was really, like, scary in the moment and stressful in the moment, but, like, funny now. Like, what? I didn't know that was going to happen. I feel like he's watched me get blood so many times. Like, I don't know. But he was standing up, and then boom, he was on the ground. And I was freaking out. I was freaking out. But yeah, he's fine. Thank God. And the egg retrieval went great. They took out 27 eggs. 27 eggs were retrieved. 16 were mature. Out of the 16 fertilized by day 1. So they fertilized the eggs right away. And then by day 3, there was 13 out of 16. And then they see more of a drop off on day 4, 5, and then 6. So by day 6, which is actually today that I'm recording this, we have 7 blastocysts. Last time we had 1. Now we have 7, which is amazing. Like, I am so, so, so happy for this result. I feel so hopeful. And so now the next step is they're being sent off for PGTA testing. And basically they can, like, count the chromosomes and make sure that everything is normal. And we'll see how many viable embryos we have. Like, I just feel a knowing in my heart that we're going to have viable embryos. Like, I feel like there could be 2, 3, or 4. So, or more. I'm open to more, universe, God, angels. Like, I'm open to all the embryos. So that is very exciting. The waiting process is, it's not super fun, but luckily it's the holidays. And 12 days from today is my birthday, December 28th. So I could potentially get these results before on my birthday, which would be amazing because I do feel really good about it. And so I just ask for all the love to be sent to this. And, I really didn't think that I would be sharing this in real time. I think after we get these results, I'm probably going to stop sharing and, like, see what happens for transfer and not tell anyone when the transfer is. And, that would be the next step. So when we get embryos back that are viable, then they'll start preparing me for transferring an embryo. And I had a lot of questions in the beginning, like, are they going to transfer one? Are they going to transfer two? Am I going to have twins? Are they going to transfer three? Like, how does that work? Do I get to pick the sex? What, like, all the things. Because when you get the PGTA results back, you know the sex of the embryo, which obviously doesn't mean anything because he, she, her, they, who knows what my little soul's going to be, right? And it's all good, right? But like they can tell you what it is, like from that stage. So it's really interesting. And so yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. And it's scary to share in real time, but I also feel like it's important and I feel good about it and I feel like I have a lot of support and I'm open to support. I'm really, really open to receiving all the support. So that is the update, y'all. That is the update on Making Baby Gordon 2022. I feel like I've had this alarm in my phone every year. Like, I'm so grateful for Baby Gordon 2020. I'm so grateful for Baby Gordon 2021. I'm so grateful for Baby Gordon 2022. It's happening, okay? 22 is such a beautiful number, and it like breaks down to 2, which breaks down to 1, and like numerology wise, it's just, I don't know, I feel good. I feel really good about it. All the twos. So anywho, if you guys have questions about IVF or anything like that, I recommend going on Spring Fertility's website. Like Google them and go on their website. They have so many resources. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing. I also I'm reading the book, It Starts with the Egg. Really good book. I did a lot of supplements between these 2 IVF cycles, and I do also think that helped. So in the book, they go over that as well. And on a spiritual level, you know, I've done a lot of deep inner work, and I realized that I am so worthy. I am so worthy of being a mom and experiencing that unconditional love. And I think that sometimes when we want something so badly and we're not getting it in our life, there is some sort of deeper rooted belief that needs to be brought to the surface. And like, of course, I know that I'm worthy, but there was some deeper healing that needed to happen around that. And it did. And I always suggest like looking inward and asking yourself, you know, what is inside of me? Like, what is within me that wants me to pay attention to this? Because I believe that belief that I worked through, which I'll probably do a different podcast on, is that belief that I worked through is going to support our pregnancy, like 100%. And not only that, but it needed to be worked out before I got pregnant. Because we pass down belief systems to our kids, right? Because we pass down these things to our children. And so it's just so important to like do the work. Generational healing is possible. And I do feel like I've healed some generational beliefs that are ending with me, and new beliefs will begin with our child. So that's how I'm going to conclude our episode today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being part of my journey, our journey. Thank you for the love and the support. And you know, I just want you to know that like no matter what your journey is, whether you feel any way about it, like shameful or like you want to hide it, I know that feeling. And man, it feels so good to just let it out and to realize that there's no perfect journey. There's no perfect thing to say or way to be. Your journey, exactly as it's unfolding right now, is what is perfect for you. We're all getting exactly what we need all the time. So trust in that. I'm trusting in that. And it feels good to like rest my head in that. So much love to you all. So much light to you all. And I hope that you have the most incredible holiday season, soaking in as much joy and peace and presence as you possibly can. And we will see you next week. Love y'all so much. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.